Hello and welcome to Little African News. My name is Mona Davids and I am the founder and publisher of Little African News and New York Voice News. I want to thank all of you for joining us today. Our special guest today is Mr. Vijay Dandapani, who is the CEO of the Hotels Association of New York City. Vijay, thank you for joining us and welcome to Little African News.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here.
So, Vijay, just so that our viewers have a little bit of background, you attended the Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce's monthly meeting this past Friday. And, it was such a pleasure to have you at the meeting, and your presentation is what really compelled me to invite you to come and speak to our viewers and engage with our community. So, if you could please just tell us a little bit about yourself, as well as the Hotel Association of New York City. And then I'd like to talk further about the initiatives and the programs that your association, provides to members, to employees of your members. So please tell us about yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much again. So let me start with myself. I'm a hotelier first and foremost. I've been 42 years in the industry, believe it or not, with an undergraduate and graduate degree in hotel management. I've worked in hotels, I've started hotels, I've built hotels till about 10 years ago. That I had my own company in partnership with four others, where we owned and operated 5 hotels in New York City, as well as one in Long Island. So from then on in 2017, it's going to be 10 years now, I took over this organization that you just mentioned, the Hotel Association of New York City, also goes by HANIC. So what does HANIC do? HANIC represents the hotel industry in New York City at many levels, but principally dealing with the local city, municipal government, the state government, and to an extent, small extent, with the federal government as well, particularly during COVID. That's when it came about. So when I say we represent, what do we mean by that? We pay close attention to legislation that affects our industry, both positively and negatively. So we try to influence positive legislation, try to stave off negative legislation. And so that's a big part of what we do. We also work in tandem and in terms of settling the unionized workforce, the wages and benefits. We have contracts on an industry-wide basis. So I work with my counterpart in the union in terms of negotiating those wages and benefits, as well as other team members and directors in my organization are heavily involved in that process. But we do a lot more things than that. We also help out with operational issues that hotels face. We run seminars on maximizing your operational efficiency, on including things like sales and marketing, as well as have seminars that point to new developments in the field, whether it's technology, whether it's legal issues that are outside the city government issues that I mentioned, or even the union issues that I mentioned. So we work on those fronts, when even things like building permits that you may need if you have a remodeling or even a new development, say a new entrant to the city wants from another place wants to come in and do a hotel here. We work with those people as well, both within the country and outside. We also do employee benefit events, so to speak. So we have a golf outing, which is a fun event. We also have annual summer seminars where we get managers of various levels at the hotel come together, exchange ideas in a place, in a sort of informal setting. We also have an annual gala, which this year, for various reasons, we are not having, but every year we have an annual gala where we honor international, or at least a nationally recognized hotelier, as well as a prominent New York City person who's really a big part of the civic landscape. So, for instance, last year we honored the CEO of the New York Police Foundation. and as well as a prominent hotelier, Lindsay Uberath, who is, heads up Preferred Hotels worldwide. So next year we will again have it. It'll be at the Waldorf Astoria. This is an event where we attract the best and the brightest in our field, as well as elected officials come, at least for the cocktail hour, and we have entertainment from Broadway. So we work closely with our partners in the tourism landscape. So we're a big stakeholder in the city, but let me not forget when I say stakeholder, one big issue we handle during COVID, as we all know, everything was shut down, and that of course meant hotels. So there was no customers traveling for several months. And so, but meantime, the city had an emergency situation where people had to be moved out of shelters because the shelters were not safe. COVID was very contagious, as we all know. And so we moved them into hotels very quickly. That's not a job we normally do, but it was an emergency situation. The then Mayor de Blasio reached out to us and we pivoted to that function. And we did that, let me stress, pro bono, meaning we didn't charge anything because our job really is to the larger welfare of the hotel industry, and which was really hurting at that time. And so we created a platform whereby we took in people from these shelters on an emergency basis, put them in hotels, and then, of course, other providers got involved in providing food and other services, but the hotel aspect was handled by us. So that went on all the way till the end of 2021. But continuing in the same vein, when we had the migrant crisis, we did this yet the same thing, although the platform was slightly different. The clientele, if you will, was slightly different, and the economy was obviously in a better shape. Nevertheless, the industry was very ready to help in that instance. One reason being that we still hadn't recovered from COVID, and so there were hotel rooms still available, and this was the best use that they could find for that. But on a purely humanitarian basis, we also help out when there, for instance, there are fires in some districts. In New York City, unfortunately, every now and then there's a fire in an old building or even a new building. So a couple of years ago in Middle Village in Queens, there was a fire and 11 or 12 families were displaced. We went there. Personally, I went there on a Sunday, helped them out with some, ensuring that people had groceries, etc. They were turfed out of the house with no notice. You literally had to flee your house because of the fire. So we've done that. We also help out the civic organizations like City Meals on Wheels. And very importantly, we help out people who are organizations that are involved in preventing human trafficking, or at least helping out people who are being trafficked. And so this is all work that our foundation does, the fire that incident that I mentioned, as well as this trafficking thing. So in broad brush, these are the many areas we get involved in. I hope that answer was not too long, but feel free to question me on more issues.
Okay. Well, I have a question. How many members do you have in the association?
Well, let me answer it this way. We have roughly 85,000 of the 128,000 rooms in the city of New York as our members. So as a number of hotels, it is just about 250, I would say. And if you ask me what the total number of hotels in the city, it's 700. That's because there are many, many, many small hotels, particularly, excuse me, in Queens and parts of Brooklyn and parts of the Bronx. So these smaller hotels are not our members, but they range in size from as few as 50 to even 150, 170 rooms. But they're involved with us in some of the other things that I just mentioned, the migrant program, the COVID program. You don't have to be a member of our association in order to benefit from some of the services we offer as a stakeholder in the city. So, but almost every large hotel, and certainly the largest hotel in New York City, is the Hilton on 53rd Street and 6th Avenue in Manhattan. That is our member. The Marriott Marquis, an iconic hotel, is our member. Another very large hotel, the Sheraton on 52nd Street and 7th Avenue, that is also our member. Another very large hotel. So almost all the large hotels. The Brooklyn Marriott is our member, obviously, and so that's our membership. What it's comprised of.
So, with all of these members, do you have an approximate number of the the total number of employees that um, you know that are employed by your member hotels?
Yes, we do. It's about 28,000, roughly, just approximately, if you will. So.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot. So
Mhm.
it's going to bring me to my next question. So I went on your site. Well,
Yes.
I went on the foundation website,
Okay.
and one of the first things that I noticed on the foundation website was the scholarship program.
Yes.
And education is very, very important to our community, to the African community, to the diaspora community, and just overall to the immigrant community. Um, ensuring that our children complete their tertiary education. So the first thing that I looked at was the scholarships program that you have. Um, for the families, for the students. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. This program that we have is for exempt employees, meaning you're not a line employee, so to speak, and so it's all levels of management and supervisory staff whose children or family members. You don't have to be directly your child who's going to college. So you got to be a high school student going to freshman year in college. And so we started off with, I think it was two. Now we have, last year we had six. This year I think we again are back to four. But we expect to be at a minimum four going forward. And so it's $10,000 for each student that we give out. And we have a healthy applicant pool, and the candidates who get in go into some really outstanding colleges, and they certainly benefit from it. Obviously it doesn't cover the entirety of your college education, but it's a significant addition to the fees that one needs to pay to go to college these days.
Okay. No, that's that I know that for many of the employees again that work in the hotels that education, their children's education matters. So, Vijay, can you also speak to us about some of the workforce development that your organization does, or if it's the foundation that does the workforce development, um, and also if you can touch on, that the fact that with a lot of the hotel employees, uh, there are opportunities for advancement in the hotel industry. When a lot of immigrants come here, they usually go into a handful of industries that, as a newly arrived immigrant. And I'd say number one is healthcare. And then I would say number two is hotels, and then number three is of course getting a city job, that kind of stability.
Yeah.
So I would say like these are the three main industries, and I know within the African community and the African diaspora community, which includes continental Africans as well as um, people from the Caribbean, um, they work in the hotel industry and for years. And these are stable, long-term jobs, but there's also the opportunity for advancement that you can move up the ranks. And I think it's important to talk about that, especially considering all of the conversations and the concerns that we're hearing with, you know, loss of jobs, AI, all of these things. But then you have industries such as the hotel industry that still has opportunities for New Yorkers.
Yes, you bring up a really good point. I mean, look, there's multiple avenues in the hotel industry. One key aspect to remember is most of the entry-level jobs, you do not need to have a college or even a high school education, particularly if you're room attendant, but even some of the front desk jobs. There's no requirement that you have to be a high school graduate, I mean, certificate of having passed high school. Obviously, the ability to speak English, because this is New York in the US, so English is, and it's another language is always helpful. But you rightly point out there's mobility. So I don't know of any other industry where you can move up the ladder. You can literally, there are people who have started in kitchen stewarding, which is the area in the back of the kitchen where you do the dishes, literally, and they moved up all the way up to the very top, general manager, and sometimes even higher. Certainly, people who started as the position almost does not exist any longer, but telephone operators have gone on to become CEOs of hotel companies. But that's one aspect. More typically, you join at an entry level and you move up to managerial level. And I personally helped one or two mentor one or two who've gone up that ladder, and today head up as general managers of hotels, not necessarily New York, but they started here. So that opportunity is there. Obviously this is hard work in the initial years. Hard work meaning in terms of hours, not necessarily always hard work physically, although housekeeping is somewhat more demanding than a front office job in terms of physicality. But the opportunity to move up is very strong if somebody's diligent. And so learning what the front desk is about, even learning what the housekeeping is about, how minimizing workflow, etc., can move you up the housekeeping ladder. You can become a housekeeping supervisor, and from there, the head of the housekeeping, and then so on. They even head housekeepers who become general managers. So that's one area of mobility. The other is very few people embark on that, but one person that I've helped out ended up buying his own hotel somewhere in Alabama, I believe, starting at an entry level. It's entirely possible because you've learned all the aspects or learned most of the aspects of running at least what's called a limited service hotel. And so you know what the operational efficiencies could be. So the next step is to understand the financial aspect. Then, of course, the issue of getting money. But immigrant communities are very inventive. If they find the right location, the right point of where they want to set roots, it's entirely possible, as happened in this case, where they got money from the immigrant community and eventually got it bankrolled. So you start small, but you can end up in this area, or you can go up vertically in the career path that I already mentioned. But you asked me about workforce development. So we don't directly have actual training programs. We work with the union on that front. The union has the hotel union that has training programs for various job situations, but these are all line jobs, obviously. But we have worked in the past with a technical institute like NYT, for instance, where we spoke to people and say what these opportunities are, and sort of give them a lay of the land for a career path over there. We're looking to restart that. We in fact had an arrangement with an institute that just before COVID hit us, where we would actually have 3-month programs where you get a certificate at the end of it. So once we get past where we are today, we have certain things going on with regard to our end of the long 12-year contract for labor with the union. Once that is done, I'm looking to pick up on that aspect again.
Okay, and with you mentioning the union, in the media, we hear that, there are some developments with regards to the union contract, which I think expires at the end of June of this year.
That's correct.
And we have the World Cup coming to
Yes.
the New York and New Jersey tri-state area. So I'm going to ask the question that probably a lot of visitors to the city are asking. Is everything going to be okay for the World Cup? People are concerned. I think I looked on their. It wasn't a union website. It was some other website affiliated with the union, and they say on the website, there may be a strike, or there's contract discussions going on. Can you share a little bit more about that, especially for visitors that are looking at coming to New York City for the World Cup games?
Sure. I mean, it's coincidental that the labor contract expires just about the time the World Cup starts. So the World Cup, the first match, as we all know, starts June 11th. The union labor contract, industry-wide contract, expires on June 30th. So while I cannot speak to any negotiations, what I can speak to, let me start off by saying that the union and the Hotel Association have had a long history of very amicable relations. The last time there was a strike, you mentioned the word strike, was in 1985, 41 years ago. And so we certainly don't want to strike, don't expect to strike. The union leader has mentioned that on a couple of occasions. How much of that is real, we'll have to see. We certainly don't expect one, like I said, we certainly don't want one. So I think the what I will say is that we have been very fair employers. What I will point out very clearly is that, uh, in the words of the union boss himself, a mere year and a half ago, he said that the union contract is the best in the country, with the best benefits, the best protections, and it's a gold standard. Those are his words. It's on the union website. You can look at it. So we will do something. I just cannot say what that will be because number one, I don't know yet. But number two, even if I did, I wouldn't be able to disclose it at this point. So we don't, like I said, I'll reiterate, we do not expect to strike. We think it's unfortunate. There was a reference to that more than once, because that's not our intention at all to enter into a contentious situation that would trigger a strike.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. So, I mean, would you overall say that New York City hotels are ready for the influx of visitors from all over the world? Um,
Absolutely.
to welcome.
Absolutely, Mona. Let me underscore that by saying this. Every year we have a tournament that many people don't realize comes to the city. It's at the end of August and ends in right after Labor Day. It's called the United States Tennis Open. It's what they call a Grand Slam in tennis parlance. It's one of four Grand Slams around the world. And last year we had 1.3 million visitors coming, and that's in Queens. It's in Flushing Meadows, Queens. Uh, there's never been a hotel problem, and particularly in the end of August, September, it's a resumption of travel, both business travel as well as social travel and meetings travel, etc. Even with all those so-called pressures, we've always had hotel rooms. So this is in June and July. July is traditionally a slow month for the hotel industry. We have plenty of hotel rooms. Now, you might ask, will they be this 1.2 million? We have not seen the level that everyone's been talking about as yet. We're still a few weeks away from the first match of June 11th. What I will say is that as somebody who follows soccer around the world, that this year's World Cup, the ticket prices are extraordinarily high. So last 4 years ago was in Doha, as we know. Ticket prices were as low as $18 for the early stage matches, and then maybe $1,000 for the later finals, etc. Here, sometimes it's tens of thousands of dollars, and the seats are really questionable. And FIFA has unfortunately taken on this notion of dynamic pricing, which is really what airlines first invented, where based on travel patterns, they would change the price even sometimes by the minute, if not less. Hotels too do it nowadays, but for a major sporting event to do that is unheard of. So obviously, ticket resellers always did that, but not the sporting tournament itself. So this is slightly different, and so I'm not sure that's one reason why bookings have not come in at the levels they promised. But we hope it'll be good. And a long answer to your question, we in the hotel industry are fully ready for it and fully look forward to welcoming people from around the world.
Okay, dynamic pricing. That's interesting. I never heard of that before, but maybe that's what they're trying to do with the train travel to to the games because
Meadowlands,
there's
yes,
yeah,
yes,
there's talk of it being costing $100 a ticket just
yes,
to travel, and we're like, what? Just to go across like New Jersey Transit, just
yeah, it,
$100?
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, look, if you travel during Christmas or Thanksgiving or any of the other major holidays, Memorial Day, let's take it. Obviously, your air ticket is going to be more expensive than it would be otherwise. So this is a model that the airline industry invented, and today it's prevalent in other industries as well, but principally in the airline and hotel and the shipping, the what do you call it, the sailing, excuse me,
cruise lines.
the cruise industries.
Yeah, no, we'll see what's going to happen with that $100 train
Yes.
ticket to travel from New York City to New Jersey. But Vijay, thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate your time, and also very much appreciate you coming to CACI's meeting, and we hope that you will continue the community engagement that you're doing. It's important for New Yorkers, different communities, the constituencies who make up the employees of these hotels, to learn more about the association and the great work that you all do, whether it's advocacy or lobbying, it matters.
Yes,
And something that I learned today, Vijay, is what you just said about the contract being the gold standard, and that this, you said the contract was, it's been 12 years, 12 years.
yes, 12 years, correct.
Yeah, that really is unheard of.
It
So,
is.
I'm happy to learn about that today, and it, that was quite a surprise. So
Absolutely.
we'll
Well,
be watching.
to your point, I look forward to continuing the relationship. It was really a pleasure and really an eye opener for me as well to come and meet all those people. I look forward to continuing the partnership, Mona.
Thank you. Well, thank you for joining us at Little African News.
Thank you.